There's still a lot we don't know about the Francis Scott Key bridge collapse in Baltimore early Tuesday morning. What we do know is that a 948-foot long cargo ship built in South Korea, operated by a Singapore-based company, slammed into a bridge support beam, causing the bridge to fall into the Patapsco River. At this point, 6 people are presumed dead, all of them construction workers who were fixing potholes in the bridge at the time. There were apparently no other cars on the bridge when this happened. And traffic would have already been light because it was 1:30 in the morning at the time of the incident, but also because, according to reports, the crew of the ship, called the Dolly, issued a Mayday call, which mobilized emergency personnel to shut down traffic on the bridge right before the collision. And as for the why of it all, well, it appears that there was a blackout on the ship. That's the sort of thing that doesn't happen very often to ships out on the open water, but it can happen. And when it does, it can be catastrophic. And in this case, it seems that the loss of power may be linked to contaminated fuel. Here's a Fox News report, quote, "A safety investigation into the Francis Scott Key Bridge collapse in Baltimore, Maryland will include whether contaminated fuel was a factor in the cargo ship losing power and crashing into the bridge. The lights on the Dolly began to flicker about an hour into the ship's trip early Tuesday. A harbor pilot and assistant reported power issues and a loss of propulsion prior to the collision, according to a Coast Guard briefing report. Quote, "The vessel went dead, no steering power, no electronics," an officer aboard the ship said Tuesday. "One of the engines coughed and then stopped. The smell of burned fuel was everywhere in the engine room, and it was pitch black. One cause of ship blackouts is contaminated fuel that can create problems with its main power generators. A complete blackout could result in a ship losing propulsion, and that smaller generators can kick in, but they're unable to carry all the functions of the main ones, and they take time to start." So that's the working explanation of what happened right now at the moment. A deliberate attack on the bridge was ruled out almost immediately. It was unclear at first how they could have known so quickly that it wasn't done intentionally, but it makes sense now, now that we know that a Mayday call was issued from the ship alerting police to shut down traffic. If this was any sort of terrorist attack, you probably wouldn't perpetrate it at 1:30 in the morning, first of all, when traffic is at its lowest, and you almost certainly wouldn't warn police ahead of time to get everybody off the bridge, unless these were the most polite and thoughtful terrorists the world has ever seen. So with terrorism likely put aside, many other questions remain. Plenty of valid questions. But the media has already jumped in, as they always do, to declare that anybody asking any questions is automatically a conspiracy theorist. Rolling Stone and NBC News have both run lengthy articles condemning the, quote, right-wing conspiracy theories surrounding the bridge collapse. The Rolling Stone reports, quote, "Right-wingers are more concerned with using the incident to attack the Biden administration and spread conspiracy theories, as has become the case with just about any news making a tragedy in America." Matt Schlapp, the chairman of the American Conservative Union, said on Newsmax that, quote, "We've never fully come out of all the lockdowns and the COVID issues," adding that, quote, "If you talk to employers in America, filling slots with employees who aren't drug-addled is a very huge problem." He prefaced the implication that drugs may have played a role by noting that he is, quote, "no expert on what's going on the seas." Representative Nancy Mace suggested Biden's Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act may be to blame. Pizzagate conspiracy theorist Jack Posobiec posted a picture of the wreckage along with the caption, "POV, your president is Joe Biden." Several right-wing accounts called for Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg to resign. Several others blamed diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives. Now, NBC News ran with an identical narrative in their article. And just to be clear, none of the examples listed are conspiracy theories. Some of them are theories. Some of them are questions. Some of them are just statements. None of them are conspiracy theories. They might be wrong. They might be right. They might be partially right. They might not be right at all, but none of them are conspiracy theories. Did this collision have something to do with the competency crisis? Is that how the ship ended up with contaminated fuel? Maybe. Maybe not. Given that DEI is at a minimum contributing greatly to the competency crisis, does that have something to do at some level, somewhere along the line, with this incident? Again, maybe, maybe not. We don't know yet. It's a fair question. Should Pete Buttigieg resign? Well, he definitely should resign. That was the case before this happened. But when we notice that you have the string of transportation-related disasters that have happened during his tenure, is it fair to ask these questions? Of course it is. None of these are conspiracy theories. Like, not everything is a conspiracy theory. These are potential explanations or possible factors, and all of them are perfectly reasonable things to wonder about. The term conspiracy theory has lost all meaning as it is now used to mock and dismiss basically any question a conservative asks about any major news event or any possible explanation that a conservative offers, however reasonable it might be. The moment you open your mouth to say anything at all about an event that has just occurred, it is automatically a conspiracy theory. That's the way it works now. And the only way to avoid that charge is just to parrot exactly what NBC News is telling you and not to stray from that script by one single word. That's what the term conspiracy theory has come to denote. But that's not what a conspiracy theory is. Okay? Well, I'll show you what a conspiracy theory actually is, because there have been some related to this bridge collapse. A guy named Jimmy Corsetti tweeted this, quote, "Oh my God, this can't be a coincidence. The ship that crashed into the Francis Scott Key Bridge in Baltimore was headed to Sri Lanka. The flag of Sri Lanka is a lion. The ship in the opening scene of Barack Obama's Leave the World Behind is named White Lion." Okay, so here's a conspiracy theory. That's what a conspiracy theory looks like. That's how it works. But none of those examples from Rolling Stone are conspiracy theories. That one is. So Barack Obama recently produced a film for Netflix, and from what I've heard, it was pretty bad. Neither here nor there. Apparently, in that film, there's some kind of accident involving a cargo ship, and that ship's name has the word lion in it, and the flag of Sri Lanka has a lion on it, and the cargo ship in Baltimore was headed to Sri Lanka, and Jimmy insists that this can't all be a coincidence. But in fact, this is a classic example of a coincidence. You could put that tweet in the dictionary under coincidence. Perfect example of what one is. What Jimmy is obviously implying is that somehow Barack Obama had something to do with the bridge collapse, which was in some weird, indirect way foretold in the film he produced. Like, why would Barack Obama want to coordinate the collision of a ship into a bridge at 1:30 in the morning? What would he gain from that? And why, if he did, why would he leave clues about his plan in a Julia Roberts movie that came out 6 months ago? And that's never explained because, of course, it makes no sense. This is one of the features of conspiracy theories, actual conspiracy theories. They are half-baked, fanciful, utterly baseless, hinged on incredibly tortured and tenuous connections between wildly unconnected things. And they also, strangely enough, often seem to assume that the nefarious forces coordinating these catastrophic events always like to leave breadcrumbs. They like to leave little clues as to their sinister plots so that random accounts on Twitter can put the pieces together. Well, of course, Easter is just around the corner, and instead of filling your child's basket with mediocre things that will be thrown away or rot their teeth, you need Lux Blocks. My kids love all the different options that Lux Blocks offers. They have spaceships, American flags, dinosaurs, cars, anything else your kids can dream up to create, including this. It's kind of like an accordion. Yeah, it's like an accordion, I guess. My 4-year-old daughter always has me create the most intricate designs. I'll sit there for hours building for her, just for her to destroy it seconds later. That's the way it goes when you're a parent. But if you're unsure which set to get for your kids, a great place to start is with the Mega Flexor Starter Set. With this set, you can create fun, stretchable objects, which are sure to keep your kids entertained. Lux Blocks is made right here in America. They wanted to create something that positively empowered kids to think, create, and dream big. So whether you're looking for a gift for a child who loves to build or just a unique addition to your family game night, Lux Blocks is a perfect choice. Check them out at luxblocks.com. Use promo code MATT25 for 25% off. That's luxblocks.com, promo code MATT25 for 25% off. A conspiracy theorist, an actual conspiracy theorist, lives in a fantasy world based on superhero movies that he's watched. And in his world, the bad guys are, the kind of movie villains who deliver evil monologues explaining their plans right before they're caught. So that's a conspiracy theory. Here's another one.
I just watched Biden's presser on the Key Bridge collapse in Baltimore, and I just wanted to come to you guys with a few questions. Okay, great, the government's there, but he also said that this was an accident, period. Nothing about an investigation, nothing about where the boat's from, to anything. Just it was an accident, and we're going to take care of it, and we're not leaving until it's done. So take that how you will. Please discuss below. I can only say so much. You guys know that. But I also want to say and point out, don't let this also mask you from seeing what's going on with P. Diddy, Puff Daddy, and that whole conglomerate of You know what? I've been saying it forever. It's finally going down. Is it a coincidence that this was a container ship hitting a major port bridge on the exact same time that his houses get invaded? That's also a lunar eclipse or a full moon or some kind of moon that happened last night. Remember I did a TikTok on it? I'm like, guys, if you haven't seen the moon yet, go out and look at it. It's pretty wild. You can't tell me that this isn't all connected.
Some kind of moon happened last night. Well, I'm glad that some kind of moon happened. I mean, if there was no kind of moon, we'd be in big trouble. She says we can't tell her that this isn't connected. Well, I can tell you that because it isn't. The moon certainly has nothing to do with anything. And Diddy's house getting raided in Los Angeles and Miami for sex trafficking would not seem to have any bearing on a shipping accident in Baltimore. Like, what even is the theory here? The government conducted these large dramatic raids against a very famous person and tried to distract from it by what? Forcing a Singaporean ship to slam into a bridge? How did that work exactly? Did they tell them they had to? Did Navy SEALs take over the ship and do it themselves? Like, how did that work? And why? What would that achieve exactly? The answer is absolutely nothing. People are still interested in the Diddy case and will continue to be. So this is another characteristic of actual conspiracy theorists. They are constantly claiming that this or that event is meant to distract from some other event, right? Everything that happens is like, it's either the thing, it's like the one, there's like one thing that's actually happening in the world, and then everything else that's happening is to distract from that one thing. Because we live in a world where only one thing can happen at a time. You know, it's not possible. Well, how could Diddy's house be raided and then there's an accident in the same week? Well, I don't know, because we live on a planet with 8 billion people and there's stuff happening all the time. I mean, there's like billions of things happening every second of the day. So they imagine that the government is not only sinister, which of course the government is sinister, but also as something capable of pulling off one complicated caper after another, keeping everybody quiet about all of it forever, and doing all of this most of the time for no other reason than to distract us, which means that these evil geniuses who have this capability still have not noticed somehow, after all of these years, that none of their distractions actually work. And the public doesn't actually pay attention to any of their distractions for more than like a day and a half. I mean, because by tomorrow, no one's talking about the bridge collapse anymore. Not because it's not important, but because no one talks about anything for more than a day and a half. Anything. So if you want to distract us for a day and a half, there are much easier and more efficient ways to do it. Joe Biden could just trip going up the stairs again, and that would occupy our attention for at least as long as a bridge collapse. So actual conspiracy theorists live in a world where bad things never happen on their own, accidents never happen, coincidences are impossible, and anything that seems remotely strange or anomalous must automatically have a complex, dastardly, quite cinematic explanation behind it. And that's because actual conspiracy theorists use conspiracy theories as a way of coping with the randomness and uncertainty of life. That's what's really happening here at a psychological level. They are afraid to admit that in the real world, bad stuff happens and things go wrong very frequently, like basically all the time, you know? And this makes them feel vulnerable. So they invent a new version of the world where everything is deliberate and human agency controls everything. This makes them feel, in an odd way, safer. And it keeps them entertained, which, you know, is the main thing, of course. And that's what conspiracy theories are about. It's easy to lose track of that because 99% of what the media calls conspiracy theories these days aren't actually conspiracy theories. And that's why the actual bridge collapse conspiracy theorists and the media outlets accusing the rest of us of being conspiracy theorists when we're not are all today canceled. Thanks for checking out this video. If you'd like to listen to my full podcast on the go, you can check out The Matt Walsh Show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.